Hi everyone, Luke here from Figmento Films, and I'm back with another video about Dehancer. If you haven't seen my previous video, look in the link below and you can see my look at the Premiere Pro version of Dehancer. And I liked it so much that I became a part of the affiliate program, and you can get 10% off with the code below. But in this version, we're going to look at the Photoshop version of Dehancer. What is Dehancer to any newcomers? Dehancer is film emulation software, and simply put, it will make your modern footage look like old school footage, but not in a bad way, in a really cool, nostalgic, sort of retro vibe sort of way. But I was curious about the Photoshop version because it's far more robust for photo editing and color grading than Premiere Pro is. You can only push your video footage so far before it starts to fall apart a little bit, whereas Photoshop, you can do so much to it. Would you even need a program like Dehancer? And that's what we're going to have a look at in today's video. So what we're going to do is I'm going to find one of my older product shots and I'm going to apply Dehancer to it. And this is just a first look. There is a learning curve to this, as you would expect with any program. But without further ado, let's get started. Okay, I've done like a bunch of takes on this because I want to try and keep it short and sweet. A couple of things to emphasize. One, this is more of a first impression review and tutorial, so it's not super in depth, it's just a quick look at what you can do with it. Number two, I'm not sponsored by Brewdog, but if they want to send me anything for free, that would be awesome. And number three, tip of the day is just don't be afraid. You're going to see a bunch of sliders, don't be afraid to push and pull them. You're not going to break anything. You can undo, you can delete, and you can restart. This is my image, and I turned it into this. Here's one I did earlier, and I think this looks awesome. And I'm just going to try and show you how I did this. So firstly, make sure you've downloaded it, the program, to your appropriate editing software and computer. This is Windows and this is Photoshop. So once it's all installed, you're going to go up to Filter, you're going to go to Dehancer, you're going to go to Dehancer Film. It's going to open up a panel. Now, what we're going to be looking at is the preview. If I press reset on here, it's going to redo everything, so we're going to be starting at the very start now. So this is what I was dealing with at first, and you can actually obviously zoom in like that, which is really cool. But with the preview, this is what the image looks like before the Dehancer effect, and this is afterwards. Over on the left hand side, you've got profiles, you've got presets. We're going to go to profile for this particular tutorial. And I'm just going to keep it on all films. I'm going to look for Agfa Color 100. No idea if I've pronounced that right. Now, we're not going to look at every single thing over here. We're going to look at source, and we're going to look at halation and bloom and grain. So I'm just going to shrink all these. So first, let's start with the source. So one thing that this particular this particular emulation has done is it's turned the image quite cool. What I want to make sure it's quite warm, probably a little bit warmer than the original actually. So we go to temperature compensation under source, and I can drag that to the right, and it will warm up a little bit, and I think that looks really cool. Now make sure you've ticked these little tick boxes here, otherwise you won't see anything happening. Next, we're going to go to print. And I'm going to use Kodak 2383 simply because I hear a lot of film people use this, and I know it's used in cinema as well. It's very popular, hence why I'm using it, and I used it on my Premiere Pro video as well. Next, we are going to go to grain. So I'll click on the drop down menu, and you've got all these sliders. You can change the size of the grain, the resolution of the grain, how much grain, but for now all I'm going to do is the less is more approach to grain. So I'm going to take this down to 10. I'm just going to half what it already is. I'm going to go all the way down to where it says negative or positive. There's a little drop down arrow. Click on that. I personally prefer the positive grain. It's a little bit finer and just a bit more pleasing to me, and that's entirely subjective as well. Next, I'm going to go to halation. So we're going to click on halation. You should have seen it already happen. Okay, so what I'm going to do is click on the drop down menu, and I just want it to be more, so I could go down to sort of global diffusion, and I could start bringing this up a little bit. I'll go to amplify. Okay, so I kind of like it about there, and all halation does is it puts a halo type effect around bright areas. Now the next thing we're going to do is bloom. Now a lot of people use these bloom filters like Cine Bloom, mist filters, You can do all that in the editing program, which is really cool because it means you won't mess anything up in the camera. So off, on, off, on. Now I really like this, but I'm going to go to where it says save highlights, and I'm going to take this down a bit. Let's take it all the way down. So what I'm going to do is start slowly bringing it up until it's at a place that I personally dig, and I think there. You can also amplify it, which is pretty crazy. I'm going to take that down, and that will be my edit for now. Let's have a look. Boom. How cool is that? That is so cool. This was my original edited image, which I think looks really cool. It's got that new retro wave sort of vibe, and then this is the Dehancer effect. It just looks awesome. It looks so much more authentic, and there's so much more control over what you can do, and it's integrated into Photoshop really well. I could still edit this in Camera Raw, I could still use all the adjustments in Photoshop, and I could still go back into Dehancer as well. Do I think you need Dehancer? Well, it depends on the type of work you're going to do. Say if you're working for a brand like some surf brand, which are often very nostalgic looking and very alternative, boho and rock sort of looking, then I think this program could be really essential for you and save you a lot of time. Simply put, you get a lot more granular control over the different effects available in the program. So when you add halation, you can really fine tune how much halation you're adding or how much bloom you're adding. And they also affect each other as well in a way that would be so difficult to do entirely in Photoshop. There's just things that are hard to think about. For example, a lot of the old school lenses, they would have chromatic aberration and they would have halation and blooming. And you might add one of those things in your edit, but you might forget to add the other. So this can make your footage feel a lot more like the genuine article. However, if you're not doing that genre of photography very often, then Photoshop is probably more than robust enough for you. For me, I actually have a couple of projects coming up where I will specifically be using this, which is why it's really cool. I think it saves you a lot of time. There is a learning curve. It's definitely not quite as hard hitting on the computer as the Premiere Pro version. It seemed to edit a lot faster on my Windows PC than the video editing version did. So I'll definitely be looking to use this a lot more. So is it essential for everybody? No, but if you're really all about that retro vibe, I think this could be an essential piece of software for you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you like this video, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll be back with another video really soon. See ya.